We were just looking over. Where is it at? Ah, here it is. A drone looking over. That's what's that? That's us. Where's the drone footage? Ah, here it is. So this is just the drone looking over Epstein's island, and there's several drone footages here. So while we're waiting for Tank to come on, we'll just look at what's on this on here. So this is where the two mounts are for the for those Moloch figures. Now they look to me, I wish I could see a better look, but they look more like cockatoos than they did owls. But in any case, they were interesting to have up there. But all the gold figures are removed. This is called a burned location, right? It looks like a way of locking those doors from letting people out, doesn't it? I guess like those other doors that had bolts on them. So where's the drone going to go to? So there's that arena, or whatever that arena was all about. There's one house. Kind of like a utility yard and garages. That other house is probably for groundskeepers. Beautiful blue water. Beautiful islands. I'll subscribe to Rusty Stackleford. He's got some more videos here. Let's take a look. Now the video here looks not very good quality, is it? Camera's very weak. It got better. Go back, look at that other building with the good camera views. A little bit higher elevation. There's the dock. A little runabout ATV type vehicles. Driving cars all over the place. The roads are probably smaller. All right. Let's see what else is here. Well, back to Rusty Stackleford. Okay, here's this one. So zooming in. There's a big window. There's a statue there in the corner. Can't really make out. Getting relatively close to the building, right? And you see the corner on the left-hand side. He doesn't want to tap that, right, with the drone. Looks like he's going to go around. Interesting statues that are there. Can't quite make out what they're all about. Okay. Let's go back again, see what else is there. Looks like they were building a couple of more structures here. No roof on that one. right, see if there's any more. No, that's it so far. Got 4 videos. All right, let's see. Well, hello everybody. Don't have Dank on the line or Tank on the line. Let's see if he's ready to come on yet. Okay, he said he'll need about 20 minutes to come on. Of course, that's been 20 minutes ago. It's telling me we are live. So, well, welcome to Dank Live. So we're waiting for Danky's Tank. I'm still very groggy. For those of you that didn't know, I had overslept by double my normal sleeping hours, and woke up about 45 minutes after my broadcast was to start on Frontlines. I did do it and finished it just about half an hour ago, and then I came on, immediately started this one up. So those were interesting drone footages. You know, if I had a drone and I had a boat, I'd be over there taking that footage as well. I think it could be very interesting. So drones are very interesting. We could put our eyes anywhere and look in at things, but you can also see it's an invasion of privacy at some ways as well, right? So I don't know where that whether or not that is appropriate, but I'm glad that he did it. I'd like to see more of what was there, especially the statue. So just to see if there's anything related to Moloch or anything along those lines. I doubt it would be so obvious because everything is concealed there, right? And I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to look for some other videos of the island. Let's see. So it's very funny. This is I'm going to share the screen just to show you. I'm looking for Jeffrey Epstein. I put up Jeffrey Epstein on YouTube. Right. Trying to share. I just put Jeffrey Epstein, and look what comes up. Right. Newly found footage shows Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at a party in 1992. Right. So back in 1992, you think Donald Trump wouldn't go to a party? You're like, shady deal with Alexander Acosta. Right. So this is what comes up when you put in Jeffrey Epstein. Inside Edition. What's that on the island? I'm gonna skip ahead. I'm just looking for footage. Looks like a real estate video at this point. There's the gold domes. Here's the previous one. Now, you see how they look like cockatoos? To me, these look like cockatoos. I'll zoom in. Yeah, these are not Moloch. These are cockatoos. Gold cockatoos. I know. I had a cockatoo. It was not gold. It had a gold feather at the top of its head. But those are two cockatoos made of gold. I have no idea if they have anything to do with Moloch. Those are definitely cockatoos. Interesting. All right. Go back out. Let's go back again. Hey, Tanker, is that you?
Yep, that's me.
Hey, I was just pointing out on the video, looking at Epstein Island and on the temple, those are definitely not owls, golden owl statues are on the top of that temple building with the gold dome. Those are cockatoos.
What does the symbol of the cockatoo mean?
I have no idea. Do you?
I would love to drop that right now. I was going to make something up, but no, I don't know.
All right.
I'll look it up though. I'm sure with Epstein, I feel like Epstein's kind of simple. He just strikes me as simple. He strikes me as kind of a simple dude. So I feel like it'll have something to do with his genitalia, in his world. But
it could be something hidden. But you look at the island. The symbolism is very soft. Everything is hidden there. So a gold dome is not something that looks like it's hiding, right? But it's not representing anything in particular that comes to mind for me. Other than like a Islamic, I forgot what they're called. So the tops of those towers.
The mosque.
Yeah, the mosque towers. Have kind of have a dome such as that. But two cockatoos, you would find that on a tropical island. If you wanted to, make an ornate, statues, you could find golden cockatoos there. So it doesn't seem out of the ordinary, right? You put it all together with underground tunnels and everything, it's very out of the ordinary, right? It's not normal, right? That building is on the far end of the island, right? Far away from the main house. Why would you go out there, right? If it was like a remote bedroom, if I had an island and I put it and I wanted to, have a romantic place, it seems like a kind of building you put out there and you want to put some cockatoos on it. All right, if I was a billionaire, that wouldn't seem like it's too far out, right? It's just what I think, and together with everything else that it'd be known as Orgy Island. Okay, well, all right. If you have a bunch of group of adults there, and that's what they're going to do, okay, fine with that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what has actually been discovered underground there. It's interesting to see these. I went through about 4 videos that were showing different parts of that building, and nothing looks out of the ordinary. There's a couple of statues that are, they don't seem to be very much like Moloch or any other deity. They seem to be kind of average, people, tropical people, standing around. But there's a couple that look kind of odd, but they're more artistic type of statues. Nothing unusual that I would say, if you were there just like to visit, that you would think anything of. All right, so everything is hidden on that island. So, but is there any symbolism in the gold, the golden dome, or in the cockatoos? I don't know, or any of the other statues? I don't know. But we do know that were tunnels there, and many levels of stairs going down, and that there were videos showing. Looks like young people sitting on buckets and it was dark, right, in those places because they were using night vision cameras, infrared cameras. So these people are sitting in the dark on buckets, right? And I don't know, I don't remember the count, but it looks like at least eight people. That's on one of the cameras, and others are showing staircases and other people that look kind of naked. So there are some strange things going on that island, no doubt. Over. Oh, and we lost Dank. All right, well, I guess he'll come back on. Now I've got a fly buzzing me like a fly that buzzed Trump the other day. I made a video, put it up. It was just a fly that was bugging Trump, and I slowed it down. Trump looked much better in slow speed than Nancy Pelosi does. Trump doesn't look as though he's drunk. Oh, we've got some rain coming in. I may have to abandon this room. Oh, hey, Dank, you're back.
Yep, sorry about that. I keep getting calls. As we make new contacts, it's like they don't realize that I'm live.
Right
now. So
yeah. So what's going on? Any news you can share?
I mean, lots of news. Nothing that's really pertinent to funding or anything of that nature. I know. I've got a lot of rumors. Like I heard the Earth Alliance has taken over London and the Vatican. So that would be. I think that's referring to the galactic group that lives here on the planet, and that would make sense. You've had all these blackouts going out. They would come in and take out people. I've heard that a lot of these underground tunnels are being filled with lava and water, and I think that's pretty interesting. And,
so which underground tunnels? Because we were just talking Epstein tunnels.
There's massive. There's a whole. This is amazing. I realized this today. Is that there's a massive underground highway system that runs to the United States.
Right.
They've built all this infrastructure, underground, while they've allowed our infrastructure above ground to deteriorate.
Right. We have major cities that they built underground. The numbers that I heard, were that they host about 150,000 people in these cities, and that they're connected by these vacuum tube railway systems, and they travel, very fast from city to city, thousands of miles an hour through the vacuum tubes. If there's no air in the tubes, there's no resistance, right? So a magnetic rail system could literally, be propelled very, very quickly, because you're not fighting the air. There's no resistance, so it just goes as fast as the magnetic waves will carry it.
I want to know, how do we get to that level? Like where we're invited to like the underground cities, then I feel like we really made it. Like when I can just come to the Philippines through like a vacuum tunnel, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. Well, you have to go and buy a ticket. It's $1 billion.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, something like that. Well, they tell us in the movies, right? So if you remember that I forget, was it 2012 movie where they built the big ships. Everyone was thinking they were spaceships, but they're literally large ocean liners. And China was was the one that was building them, right? But the ticket cost was $1 billion.
Well, China built all those ghost cities, right?
Yes.
Like because they're all anticipating the great restructuring of the planet.
I've heard a couple of things about that. Yeah, and I've seen the ghost cities. I drove through a couple of them, and there was construction going on. Now, I asked about it, and they said we're just we make plans. They plan out things. So they have 5-year plans, so they'll be building for whatever their purpose of what they think that those cities are going to be used for. They have a plan for them. It may also be that they needed to keep construction because those people that are doing construction, that's their job to construct.
So they just keep building to keep busy.
So they keep busy because they're funded by by the system, and if the system slows down for any reason, right, then they collapse. The people will be upset and they'll rise up against the government. And if you think that can't happen, why do you think that they're putting in this dragonfly social score system so that they can peg the people that may be upset with the government?
Wow.
And take them to pick them up and ask them, so why are you so upset with the government? Well, because you.
Well, they can. I would give them an earful on that one. I'd be like, listen, don't you guys watch the show? I'm out there talking about it. What's wrong with you?
And then we'll come and oh no, I would say we'll come visit you in the concentration camp, the real concentration camp, right? Except they won't allow visitors. So this is well, they are doing that, but they want to do it worldwide, and people don't realize that that's really what they're doing. So this social score system, I'm sure that me and you are have a very, very low score. We can probably have a fight for the bottom score.
Yeah, I know.
We're on the bottom.
Oh, Ilhan Omar is gonna hate us here real soon. we keep dropping bombs on her. It's this whole group, the 4 horsewomen there of the apocalypse. They're like, I just feel like they insisted on the impeachment vote and it got destroyed in the House, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think it's so funny because they think they're so powerful and they're so cocky right now. It's like they're a bunch of just bad kids who their father let them beat them in arm wrestling, and now they think they're the strongest person in the world. That's what they remind me of.
Oh, hey, I won! I'm super strong. Well, it's now I want to say I heard in some of my conversations a long time ago about the plan that the cabal has, or how they would take over America through the socialism movement. Part of that plan was the destruction of the Democrat Party, to become, in the final death throes, that there would be this struggle between the socialists, right,
wow,
and the progressives. So it was actually part of a plan. Now I'm looking at this and I'm saying this looks like it's the time that they're going to then separate completely away from anything that was Democrat, where the Democrats that supported business, right? I mean, what we're talking about is really communism, not socialism, because they don't want to support business. They want to support jobs. They want to support government overseeing everything.
Well, I know that when Nancy Pelosi was planning to blow up the Capitol building while President Trump was doing the State of the Union address. And she had her whole plan to fly over, and visit all of the NATO troops and all this nonsense she was going to do, right? Just basically be sworn in as the, some satanic ritual of the Black Dragon. So she was taking 95 members of her family, right?
Yeah.
And probably saved them.
That's what you normally do, right? When you go on a world tour of NATO bases, is you bring 95 people from your family.
Well, your 95 closest relatives, which I don't think I can name 10 relatives, though, 95. But so she goes over there to do, she had her whole plan to go over and do this, right? And then her core team of, the microcosm of the evil empire would have been over there. And then this guy who, he got busted. There's an actual FBI report on it. I saw it. He was ready to go in and be the suicide bomber. He was originally going to the White House, but he was going wherever Trump was. So he would have gone to the Capitol building. And when this plan came out, and that story, every part of that has been corroborated. This is absolutely true, right? There's no speculation, even though nobody in the mainstream media is going to talk about it. That's all true. Now, and why she's still there at all, I have no idea. But so after that, a lot of the Democrats, they flipped behind the scenes because they're like, "Yo, you were going to kill us too?" Because think about it, they all would have gone down. So that, to me, when you get a vote like that, where it's 395, it's that's a pretty good indicator. Or when the New Green Deal got voted down and not one of them voted, it was 52-0.
Right. The interesting thing also was that Nancy Pelosi in this battle with them, right, is stirred the pot to a point. But there is now the impression that's being pushed out even by the media, like Sean Hannity and that's saying that it's these four are the speaker. So I would say we saw a George Bush funeral as a delay tactic. Nancy's pretty old.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be much to say that we're going to see her as a delay tactic on one of these things that is coming up. I mean, after all, she is a liability.
Well, I love it not love it, but I mean, she's dead inside already, right? So it's she's a shell of herself. But the best Nancy Pelosi quote of all time: "My dementia will have no bearing on my ability as the Speaker of the House," right?
Right.
Funniest thing in the world.
Only if you had dementia would you say that statement, right?
It's wait a minute, do you know what you're supposed to do? but then she was throwing this temper tantrum or whatever, going off about President Trump. She was so mad, and whoever was over the proceedings that day, he was like, "What are you doing? Enough." Enough, we lost. And that's what I feel like it is. I mean, really, you're seeing really strong signs of just frustration. And I think the freshmen, the four there, they just have no idea what they got themselves into. They don't I mean, Alexandria Cortez has repeatedly spit off idiotic things, but if you understand what she should be referring to, right? They gave her information, but she's so naive. She doesn't realize they're telling her they're going to destroy the world. Right. So that's why she says, if we don't do this by 2030, we're all going to die. And she's right? Just not from global warming. We're going to die because they're going to commit massive acts of genocide, right?
Right.
And you can tell that they're still working. Now, this is something that I find a little kind of interesting. Now, Kim had told me that their biological weapons that they were going to use against us were re-engineered by this alchemist so that now they will only attach to their bloodline, their DNA, right? And then, interestingly, there's 140 soldiers in Switzerland who have been quarantined, right? And Fiji, there's no flights allowed in or out of Fiji. Now, why do you think they stopped that? Stop New Zealand from going out, right?
Now, the stop from New Zealand, what?
Because they're supposed to come out there to meet Tui.
Oh, from New Zealand, right. Well, they have boats.
Yeah, and they have. I'm sure they have a fast track vacuum tunnel somewhere too.
Oh, that may be. That may be. I mean, I've heard the rumors of tunnels throughout the Philippines to Indonesia, also stacked with gold.
Hmm.
Yeah, actually, uh, where it literally is along the wall of the tunnel, right? You know, it's stacked up as you go. Um,
Isn't there like a mountain in the Philippines? It's like they always say it's like made of emerald.
Made of emeralds.
Yeah, or it's like the whole thing is like one.
I've not
Like
heard
some
of
famous
that.
mountain.
There
Oh,
are definitely mountain bunkers that are quite massive, but I haven't heard of a one of the precious gem side of things. Mostly, it's always about gold. Hey, I wanted also. We were talking about Nancy Pelosi. I guess when she came out and made this what do they call it, a resolution to condemn Trump for this racist comments, right? She was actually called out on it, saying that that was against the rules of the House for her to do that.
right.
I don't know
She
if
broke
you
the rules
caught
of
that.
decorum. Sure.
Yeah, so she's, it's like they're going insane. It doesn't matter what the rules are.
It's a circus. It's a circus in there. They're like, think about it, they're all freaking out. Like anything they could say. Like they're just mad because they can't win.
Right, right, and Trump is running rings around them. That's why I said that Trump, I think, did this on purpose to draw those four out as the face of the Democratic Party, and he'd rather run against them, right? Because he'll soundly win against them. He's not going to allow them to run to the center, right? By doing
Right.
this. That's their normal tactic. We'll tell all of our base the truth, during the primaries, and then as soon as we get our candidate, we'll now lie about who we are and run to the center. So Trump's not going to let
Yeah.
them do it.
Well, we got some pretty interesting stuff going on, because we just started, bringing out more and more information about this. All these Islamic jihad, training camps, right? To kill, to kill everybody, right? Basically, like, yeah, you have. Think about. I mean, think of this as like you could have a war here, and your enemy could be going through underground tunnels and like just show up in your city, right? And just be wreaking havoc, like out of a monster movie, um, if that were allowed to continue to take place, right?
Right.
So I think that's part of the reason. My understanding is actually that the planet itself is defying their ability to do these things. They're like, the planet is filling these tunnels with lava and water, and just destroying this infrastructure that they built. To basically whatever. I mean, to create
Well,
one illusion on the surface and then something totally separate underneath.
well, it is an aspect of reality, the planet, right? It is connected to us more than people can really think about. Everything is solid; it doesn't change unless we go and move it. But if we're actually moving ourselves in a different direction, the planet and the atmosphere and reality folds in concert with what we're doing.
Without
We have
question, right? So you have us standing up and saying, no, we want our freedom, and that's really, in my understanding is that the planet itself it's an entity. It's a living energetic being. And
yeah
has a will of its own. So, and in that we are an extension of that will, right? So
yeah
I just feel like, it feels very good right now. I mean, like, it's always, it can always be frustrating because we don't have funding. Because I've, it's always made me angry that that they have money and we don't. Like, why can they do stuff and we can't? That never makes me happy. It always disgusts me. But but that being said, even with that, and like even today, like I I like dropped my kids off and then like they snatched all my money out of my account, so I couldn't get home. Right. So I ended up walking like 8 miles today, right, just to get home, just so I could pick up my daughter.
Oh,
Right.
let me just add to that. So I don't have a bank account, but my wife does, and the PayPal account is attached to her account. And for about 3 weeks, we were trying to transfer from PayPal into her bank account, but they kept rejecting, right? And there was a balance in there and everything, but when we went, but finally they just closed the account and they stole the money that was in there, and the money that was in the PayPal never could make it there, And then they said, well, it's because you had a low balance. It
Yeah.
would close the account. Well, that's like 3 weeks of trying to get the money into the account.
It's crazy, isn't it? Jeepers.
So now I don't have that bank account. So again, back to Bitcoin. transfer pay from PayPal to Bitcoin, and now I'm 100% in crypto again.
Wow. Well, it's so weird. It's like they're approaching people all over the world, um, about one thing or another, trying to move money here, trying to move money there, and I have a network of kind of scandalous villains that are always hitting me up for one thing or another, right? And whenever they ask for something, it's like they give me really so much information, right? Because they're just reckless right now. You know, they're trying anything to bring any money anywhere on Ledger. They're just trying to find ways to pull something in that's real, but none of it is. None of it's real. So
Yeah, that's I think what they're. I have people asking me for instruments, right? And I'm not really interested to, to try and do the activities needed to try and bring something to them so that they can do something with it.
I can't even waste my time with it anymore. I don't like, and you know what they do? It's so funny. Like it's funny to me now. It's like what they'll do is they'll promise like their way that they've always used is that they're going to promise such an absurd amount of money that you'd be an idiot not to put the effort forth to just try to get it, right? So they do that stuff all the time. It's like, look, we're talking about $20 trillion. It's like they'll say something crazy like that, like, and you get 20% of that, like, and you'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
like that's like anyone's gonna let that happen, right? And but it's so fascinating because I was talking to Ali Demigard, right? And I got to show you I got to share this project with you. I got to get the permission, but it is the most incredible presentation I've ever seen. I mean, as far as just a straight like PowerPoint, it is beautiful, right? And the work that she's already done with nothing, Dan, makes me feel like we're slacking. By the way, she got 106 islands. I mean, what? It's amazing. And but when we were talking, I was talking to him about you know funding. I was kind of saying, look, Ali, it's not my intention to be a radio personality or a talk show host. I like for a living. I'm like, really, we're just doing this because it helps us get the message out so that we can bring funding in to really go change the world, right? And I kind of went through just the basics of like what was important, right? Now, this is what they would do. They would bring money in from the trust into the this world, right? And they would bring it in, and they would take a 2% administration fee, right? Administrative fee. Then they would completely monopolize the business in the area they just gave like the phase one funding to, right? So they'd be like, look, we're going to give this to you, but you have to use this company for steel and this company for sugar and this company for, lumber. And then they would set up all their own businesses and they would double dip on everything. So they were just, and that's become like the normal practice of business. I mean, most people wouldn't even bat an eyelash at that. It's just normal business, right? But it's not normal. So when I started talking to him, I was just like, look, we're gonna bring this in. I'm like, now I want to be clear. This is grant money, so it's not. You don't have to pay it back. I'm like, the only thing that really, as far as requirements go, is that we really want to make sure that the ownership of the project belongs to the people who live on the land and are from there. And it's not like given to somebody else. And like I saw his face just light up. He was just kind of like, really? I mean, like, because it's so abnormal. Because
Right.
all of these organizations, even Swiss Indo, and all these, even though they talk a good talk about benevolence, right? Part of the reason why they seem so benevolent is because they use such big numbers that weren't even realistic, right? And they use these big numbers and all the things we're going to do all this, and every version of their plans pretty much would disable humanity, right? They would give us everything, and what would we do? We wouldn't contribute to our own salvation. We would just be slaves and we're grateful and worship them as gods, right? That's not the intent or the purpose. The intent and purpose is to empower humanity so they understand their role and responsibility and the beauty and the power that they possess, right? And really maximize that and pursue excellence and find ways to go do great things. And, you know, that's the opportunity we have. So projects should be priced appropriately, right? That's why there's like phases of funding. So like you go through the first phase and then you find out, did you price the second one appropriately, or do you think you'll need more now, or do you think you'll need less, and you
Right.
just do things the right way. It's just proper business.
Yeah, a lot of
Not
people say,
just
"Well, I gotta like overbid it, right? So that because I might not get more." So
well.
the
Plus,
inflate
they would
number.
always do their funding. They always tried to like do, these moves like where they would transfer in. Okay, well, over 20 years, the project's supposed to be like $40 billion. So they try to do one transfer for $40 billion and snatch it up.
Right.
And they just game the system. It's all every time. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, I was listening to Thomas Williams. He said something about, oh, they only wanted 100 trillion. I said, oh yeah, that's it. Now personally, I do need 100 trillion. Just so you know, I don't need it
Yeah,
all
of
in
course.
one time, but
100 trillion. I need 2/3 of the entire GDP of the entire world to do what I'm going to
that's
do. my my
I've
favorite.
got quite a plan. I got a PowerPoint. Watch.
Yeah, I know. My favorite one was this one group. They somebody called me up and they really vouched for them, right? I go, listen. They sound like there's some faction of the elders. I'm like, based on what you're telling me. And like, well, they are, but you know what? But they're the good ones. I know it. They've got nothing but good intentions, right? Okay. So I'm like, well, I need a mission statement, right? So they send me this like bullet pointed thing, right? And it was like one of the things on there was to relentlessly wage war against the evil empire, never allowing them to breathe. I'm like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, people who are truly humanitarian, like innately, they just are humanitarian and philanthropic. They don't talk that way. They don't talk that way. Like we're gonna relentlessly wage war. It's like you guys talk that way, right? So
Yeah.
it's
So,
funny.
they tip their hand.
Right.
It's the waging war part is a part of their makeup, right? They have to wage war.
Right. And then, and if we adopted slave masters' rituals, right? Like like we would just end up being just like them, right? Dead
It,
inside.
slave master rituals. What would that be? I'm not exactly sure.
Well, think about it. So imagine a plantation, right? You've got a slave master, and he lives in the house with his wife and his 3 kids, right? So what do? They go out and they divide they got slaves. Like one is over. One family has a little cabin on a plot of land in the midst of a cotton field where they're working, and next to them is another slave house. It's like a neighborhood, right? And
Right.
so, then the slave master comes out to the woman and says, "Wow, you're a really modern woman. To let your husband be over there talking to Jebediah's wife every day. It's really, really modern of you. I had no idea." And then he comes home and she lets him have it. She's like, "What the hell are you doing over her house?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" He has no idea. And now
Right.
she's like, "I can't. You're a liar, right?" And she trusts the slave master because he just mentioned it.
Right.
So then then like she keeps attacking him, and then he gets, he's exhausted and ends up doing something dumb and, reacts, hits her or something. And then, so then the slave master comes out and he takes the kid. He said, "You can't have this child. Look at the way you're acting." Right? Then he brings the kid in the house and does horrible things to the child to completely, disenfranchise him from where he came from and who he is. Now he's part of the slave master's family, but he's never part of the family, really. He's just a servant. But he gets to dress nice and he gets to, look like he's part of things. And then, that becomes the ritual, right? And now you've destroyed what it was. You separated the husbands from the wives and the wives from the kids, and everybody's divided against each other, and then they just keep lying to them. That's their practice.
Wow. I got it now.
Good.
Insidious.
Yeah, right? I
know. Well, we're having, great strides to end those things, but we want to move forward with these processes, and when we're making our PowerPoints, our things, we're anticipating we're going to be running, right? But then we don't have the funds, right? You can so then what we then rely on is the trying to get other people to go along with this, and we rely on each other. That's what it comes down to. We can make things happen. I mean, you're organizing veterans, right?
Yep.
To do certain things, and it doesn't require massive amounts of funds to get any of this done, right? So any of these things can be moved forward. I mean, I'm working on a project. It doesn't require massive amounts of funds. It requires some funds, but it's
Right.
not. But it can actually make a very big difference for a lot of people. So we can move forward without having these massive funds, and that's what we have to do. But it does take what it does take is time, and the more time we can devote to it, the more it moves forward.
Well, you're really good about this, about telling people to share videos and talk it out. Now, I would say that the most precious assets on this planet right now is time, because what they have done is they have delayed and delayed and delayed. Now they know, right now they don't have a new plan. That's why they're falling apart, right? Because Marduk would have thrown together a plan, right? Something different, like run a different play if all this was happening. But he's gone, so they don't have a way to plan. So all they know how to do is delay, deny, destroy, right? And deceive everyone, and then blame somebody else. So that's what they just continue to run this pattern. But that pattern is a cannibalizing pattern, even for them, right? Now, in many ways, our whole culture has adopted those same things. So waking people up is so important right now, because this is the time where humanity has this moment to realize it is our power that is generating this reality. These differences, it is the power of the people waking up and demanding it within themselves and holding that consciousness and not letting go of it, that is really making the difference, right? It's imposing that, or not imposing that will, but it's the creative will of the people. That historian we had on the show last night, man, he made this great point. I can't remember the general's name, but he was up in Massachusetts. He was over the militia. Right now, this is a civilian militia, right? And he said they beat the Brits back to Boston, is what he said. He said, and they never fired a shot, right? So he's this like famed like military guy. So how did they beat this this empire, the British Empire that was all over the world taking over places, right? This incredible army. How did they beat them back? It was their collective will. Their collective will was so powerful that they were demanding their freedom. They were standing up and saying, "I'm free. You can't do this." And because of that, they beat them back. Now that's incredible. Now I think that's where we're at. I think that's what we're doing now. It's our collective will, that the more we are just cognizant and conscious of our sovereignty and we express it, right? Because if we don't claim our rights, they will be taken from us. They're void. That is how it works. And that is the only justification I can see for the corporation, by the way, ever being imposed, because we didn't fight it, So
Right.
somehow it was now, but I think we still can. And, I think we have to. Matter of fact, this is something else I heard too. Now, there's some, you remember right like July 3rd, President Trump made some changes to the IRS that, they can't just do certain things the way they've been doing them,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I thought about that. Now, you'd have to do that to kind of create a blanket justification to investigate parties associated with the IRS. If on July 4th, when he had this secret meeting and he passed another executive order in reference to the IRS, which I just heard about today, that would affect the IRS anyways, and he does away with the IRS because he accepted the sovereignty of the United States from Kim. That's what I think. I mean, that's my speculation.
There's a lot of validity to that because it's a tangled web of things that are meant to deceive, and so even to unwind things, to go backwards or remove something, you have to know that it exists, how it was put into place, and all this takes the time. But they're on schedule.
Not on my schedule.
Not on your schedule, but it's Tesla's.
I just go right to Tesla's schedule. Yeah. No, but you're right. They do have to unwind these things because they go back as you can't just override the current law. You have to figure what's the origin of everything.
Yeah.
This historian too. Something else he told us yesterday, which I thought was really amazing. He said John Adams didn't write the Constitution, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the guy who did, but
yeah, Kevin brought this up. He actually called me while I was on the broadcast and said, "Oh no, it's like this. John Adams plagiarized the Constitution, and it was really done in this year." And okay.
Well, yeah, I know. Like Kevin calls me at 7:30, right before I'm about to go live at 8:00. And so I'm thinking he must have something breaking, right? And then the guy came on. He was great. He gave a bunch of history, but it wasn't breaking, But then afterwards, I called him and we talked, and he gave me the details about what he really wanted to get to, but he didn't, right?
Well, Kevin's trying to call in.
That's Kevin. It's Kevin right now.
Yeah. I can't actually accept. I hear. I actually moved because it was raining into the other room, so my phone's where I would be able to answer. I can't answer them on the computer because it will fight with the audio between.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, sorry, I can't bring you on. Did it stop raining? I ran into the other room and I turned off my camera. So because it was raining, it would get too loud. But I guess I can go back to the other room. The rain has stopped. So
but this was one of the most profound things that he said that I really thought was interesting. But it has no bearing because it was never brought to light. But in the original Constitution, it doesn't say that all men are created equal. It says that all men are created independent. Yeah,
endowed by
free
the
and independent. Yeah, but I mean, but the way it reads is that we hold these however it reads that that all men are created equal. And we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. But that's not what it said. It really said that all men are created independent. And I thought, wow, I mean, that would have guaranteed, our sovereignty. We're guaranteed that. That was the original document. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But it doesn't have any power because it was never ratified, as, that version was never ratified. John Adams, I guess, modified it. And then now this is the big push, right? Everything is equal. We're all equal, and then by all of us being equal, what they're really saying is you are all equal. We are not men. We're above men. We're better than you, right? So you're all equal. You're all slaves. That's I was like, well,
okay. I get it now.
And that's why the whole androgynous movement, right? They're trying to make everybody the same. Everybody is this androgynous sexual being, right? There's no men, there's no women. There's just this, half man, half woman.
Yeah, I get it. So the whole thing about being equal, this goes back to communism, right? As well, because they'd also tried the same thing. No difference between men and women. Um, so but the idea of being independent of government,
Yes.
it also means you're independent. Uh, when I look at things and you're doing your actions, and if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of others. So as a man, you want to basically make sure that you are fit and well, so that you can take care of your family, right? But that means you have to take care of yourself. Now your wife is to take care of you, right? Take care of your well-being on whether it's nurturing. How do you say it? To nurture, to be
Nurturing,
nurtured,
yeah.
nurturing, yeah, to be nurtured, and then to be sexually, then for your nutrition. So these are different roles. But then, if you go to the woman side, she has to take care of herself first, right? So she can take care of the family. So, but it always starts with being independent and recognizing that you have to, do these things. So it's not about taking a village, right? That book from Hillary Clinton, right? It takes a village. All right. It's about being able to take care of oneself so that you can take care of others. Um, that also means when you want to go out and create a business and do something, provide a service, provide a manufacture goods, that there's an exchange of your work in the form of a medium of exchange we call money, and that exchange allows you to go out and buy other things that you need for your family, and for yourself and for your family. So uh, we have to recognize that there is this difference. I was not aware in this Constitution issue of between we're all created equal. We are all independent. I'd like to actually learn more about that, and see. But I know when Kevin had brought up that it was plagiarized. He came on the line and said, "It's probably." I said, "Okay, well, I'm thinking I did my own constitution. I mean, when we did Entente indigenous group, we made our own constitution, but we plagiarized. We looked at different constitutions, some from Native American tribes. We looked at the U.S. Constitution. We looked at other constitutions, and we copied and pasted, and then we adapted, and then we added our own. I brought this up that we had a bit of a difference in our House of Representatives. We had the House of Representatives divided into two sides, male and female, two genders. So that both the male and female side would be represented. Of course, in the male was represented by a male. There was a head of that. It would be the father, and the female head would be the mother of those independent bodies within the Congress. Yep. So that the aspect of family was represented, and that's what that actually I came up with that idea. So I was proud of that piece, but everyone loved that.
Yeah, I like it too. It's cool.
Yeah. So this was how you do adapt. So if John Adams plagiarized something else, I wouldn't say that's it is bad, right? But if we look at did he change the words to make sure that there was some cabal plot, then there's a problem, right? Right. But I don't know if that occurred.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll see how it all plays out, man. Yeah, but I feel like it's there's even with all that, the Constitution is still, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are two of the greatest documents ever written. The origins of that come from the Iroquois nation, right? And my understanding of the Iroquois are actually the descendants of Atlantis.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah,
the
Iroquois was one of the tribes that we looked at for a constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's also a tribe that never was never co-opted by the United States government.
Mexam?
What's that?
Was it the Mexam?
No. But they were also a far-flung tribe. They went all the way from South America to North America up to Alaska. But they were nomadic and partly nomadic. They had their groups that would move. And I'll see if I can. I don't want to mispronounce the name of it, but I'll see if I can get that their information and look at their constitution. I know I have it, but they were also heavy influence. They had a lot of documentation that confirmed, like the Egyptians were there in the Americas.
Wow, that's amazing.
That they were, which is kind of cool. Less is with the Mormon side. So their teachings and things of that nature get backed up by what this Indian tribe has said. So, but yeah, we'll dig into that another time. What is the outlook for when we think we can move forward the funding side?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm kind of on an island right now. Because I know Kim is reading. I've been giving her different reports because there's a lot of things going on. So I just always like to tell her what's happening on my end, just like for transparency. And but she's underground until it's done. Now, until whatever's happening now. She told me before she went under, she's like, things are heating up right now, and she's like, it doesn't do anybody any good if I'm dead, because historically we've done this 6 times in 6 different timelines, and we've destroyed the Earth because they kill Kim and they try to replace her with somebody, right? Or they kill, I don't know if it's always Kim, but whoever's playing that part. So, I have to believe that everything is operational. Thomas said last week that the 3 banks are supposed to go. I haven't seen anything yet that implies that. That's obvious, but there's lots of things happening. And I really believe that President Trump accepted the sovereignty agreement on July 4th, because that is something he would do, because he is someone who appreciates traditions, right? So I'm praying that's true. Now, he's since, talked about making funds available for different things. Well, that would make sense. That could be a process. It's a process to, move that money over the right way. And I know that Kim put terms out. Now, in those terms, I've thought about this extensively. You have this complete corporate structure that, has all these statutes that basically overwrote our constitutional rights, and it rules the world. But when you use organizations like the one you set up in the Guardian of Camelot, where you're making unincorporated tax-exempt associations, in reality, what you would basically be doing is you're taking away the fuel for what they do, right, with income tax.
Right.
And then in the next breath, and you're not bound by their corporate laws.
Right.
So, to me, I'm like, well, that's definitely the structure, and that was just given to me, so I can't even take credit for having a great idea. But so I just think that's kind of where we're at. Is that I think it's all going to come out that way.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons is that we stand up as an indigenous group, right, and declare our independence and our sovereignty as a group. Individuals. Actually, the funny thing is, we were all chiefs, right? I actually was the chief ambassador, right? But
That's a great idea.
we had the chief secretary. Well, there was 12 of us to start this. Two have passed away since we started this, but we had brought up some other members after that, and I've been kind of detached from it from what has been going on. But we had created our own post office, our own seals, our own documentation, our own notary, our own our own system of we even appointed a place that was our own jail to lock up the offenders. Yeah, so it was never used. I threatened, hey, we need to put this guy in jail. It was one of our members. I was just joking around. So we got to put it in use, right? So we can say, see, we actually do it.
See? Yeah, we
I'm
do
here
this.
whenever you're ready.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, hi,
Going
how
on,
are you guys
Kev?
doing? Blessings. Good to talk to you. Great to hear from you guys. Just going to class every day now and doing my studying, and wow, it just doesn't stop. What I'm trying to bring to everyone's attention is that it's the creation of the country and how that they actually created all this was created in fraud right off the get-go. And the people that were actually trying to free us, which were true patriots, true people that were sovereign, that recognized sovereignty, were all basically murdered for them trying to do what we're trying to do here today. This has been going on a lot longer than we really think. And our history has all been burned away. It's all in the ashes. And I really don't want to bounce around. I'd really rather bring everyone up through the story so that way they could get it.
Well, Kevin, we know it's been going on for thousands of years. So, I mean, going back just through our history, it's their mode of operations, right? We know this.
Oh, absolutely.
This type of thing is what they do all the time, right? But
it's just it's the template that they used that they took over Europe with. That they did it from Wheaton, Illinois. Wheaton, Illinois is the owner of the world. And I'm going to explain this to everyone if they'll give me the minute to get through it to explain how they did this through the church and state through the creation of the college.
Yes. Go for it.
Okay. Here.
Now
Thank you guys.
Kevin,
Yes.
I'm going live with Michelle in 25 minutes. So
all right, I'm going to try and do this really quick then. Everyone bear with me, please. All right. Because this is the very first start of it.
Kevin.
Yes.
We're not going to bear with you. I just gave you a time limit. So you have to be effective right now. Okay?
I am.
So
I plan on it.
Nail it.
I'm trying.
Go for it. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Basically, it starts out like this. I'm just gonna read and bring everyone up to date. Okay, the American Revolution was the most significant event in the last 500 years, literally changing the world in every way. But who created this unique event? They came from Western democracy. The story is about the real roots of the revolution and how those who later exploited its benefits and privileges used the assassinations of the true sons of liberty, the adjustments of the constitutional law to support a new entitlement, replacing England with their own version of supremacy, stealing freedom and independence from each person, thus creating the need for the Civil War. All right, when Appleton was the most successful businessman in the country in 1850 and an influential political figure leading up to the Civil War. However, after a 9-year-old boy in Brookfield, Massachusetts in 1795, he mysteriously loses his father, Joseph Appleton, the second minister of the second parish of Brookfield, who had spiritually guided the founders of the revolution, giving sanctuary to the cause of freedom and protection of the people's independence in the church. The true writer of the Massachusetts Constitution in 1779, which serves as the founding document of the Western democracy, was Jedediah Foster, who was a young Superior Court justice, was commissioned to write a unique document, the Second Parish of Brookfield's Constitution in 1752. Now, the world's oldest living operating constitution, this document gave the pioneering farmers in their quest for freedom and independence, standing by virtue of the will of the people, planting the seeds of the future revolution in the hearts of the people of central Massachusetts. Reflecting back as an adult upon the relationships and betrayals at the time surrounding his father's death and putting together the assassination of the Sons of Liberty, William Appleton identifies the use of the disease of typhoid as the agent of death in the death of his father, as well in the assassination of several other presidents and key political influencers in the post-Revolutionary War. Contest for control of the Northwest Territory. It's all about a land grab, people. He also realized that each of the true Sons of Liberty had mysteriously been assassinated, as well as a new entitlement emerges to replace the old. The entitlement is the land grab. Appleton reflects on the ongoing battle for freedom and independence currently being fought through gaining control of the land west of the Mississippi by this new entitlement, which emerged out of the Boston and New York to take control of the whole country, using the narrative of the history of the revolution to justify its confiscation and distribution of land for the exclusive benefits of the new privileged class. The sage 19th century politician seeks to encourage his father's successor at the First Congressional Church of North Brookfield, formerly the Second Parish of Brookfield, Thomas Snell, to both preserve in the abolition of the slaves as the fulfillment of the American Revolution's mission of establishing freedom and independence for all, as well as to secure the gifts of truth and knowledge as a remedy for the disease of historical exploitation, realizing that it is only by the destruction of the entitled feudal system enshrined in America through slavery being contested by the free soil allocation of the Northwest and Western territories, and by the exposure of how the new entitlements seek to control the people with partial information, that true freedom will be achieved. Appleton urges Thomas Snell, in the spirit of the Revolutionary Fathers, to not grow tired of giving the people both freedom as well as independence, encouraging them to embrace the battles emerging, as well as to preserve the discovery of truth to set the people free. What this is basically establishing is that they came here and in Worcester, Massachusetts, and established the church, state, and college to create later on the federal government through the treaties. The treaties come from the 1805 treaty, where they captured 4 Iroquois Indians, and they captured 1 Indian. 4 Indians came to rescue him. When they came to rescue him, they made a deal with him, which is a treaty, that they would give them $1,000 a year for the next 25 years, I believe. Might be 24. I'm not sure exactly. I'm still learning. Bear with me, people. What this all explains is that in the contract that he signed for the release of the prisoner for the $1,000 a year was that they would be able to share the land west of the Mississippi, leading basically from the Fox River here in Wheaton, Illinois, because Wheaton, Illinois being the waterways to DC, Canada through Lake Michigan, and then west through the Mississippi down to St. Louis, and then up the Missouri River. That's all the land grab. The way that it works out is through this contract, they would share the land. So they signed it, not reading it and understanding what it was about, because it said that they were going to free the prisoner. Upon freeing the prisoner, he turned around and shot him, thus leaving the Treaty of 1805. There is a copy out there, but trust me, it's hidden well. It's with the tribes. So upon this being with the tribes are still the holders of the sovereignty land, because that Treaty of 1805, the very first treaty of land before the actual Declaration of Independence was put through, because of the 1752 Constitution protecting it, they stole it all back, with John Adams plagiarizing the new Constitution, pushing it through in Brookfield, Massachusetts. In 1770, that was just prior to 1775. 1774, I believe he put it through. All right. So now what this all leads to is that what they did was they created a bunch of treaties, stole the land from the Indians, and basically Charles Dickinson wrote a book, The Tale of Two Cities. The Tale of Two Cities resides between Wheaton, Illinois, and Naperville, Illinois, where the Patriots knew what was going on. So they took and they rewrote everything and put it in their new court, in their new church that they created in the Naperville settlement. Wheaton then went and took it over through a congressional order that they had, where no one was even around, no judges were even available. They wrote it, and then they went to Naperville, seized the records, seized everything, burned the church, and burned all the records. And then went back with their records that were taken and overridden and deposited them back in Wheaton and started the College of Wheaton, thus creating our structure of land contracts, because it's done through the college and churches is the land. And then you got the Congress, which runs the judicial system. And then the state is the state. Where's your folder? Where's that? In the car. All right. The state, and it all sets it all up to where that's the three entities of government, and they created it all here, and they're holding all the land contracts for everything that was created since the revolution. So basically all the land contracts are stolen contracts and done through a coding. The coding is in Charles Dickinson, Tale of Two Cities. Hold on. Through Madame DuPage. DuPage is the county of DuPage, where all this sits in. It's the coded message that if you want land, you had to come here, and you would get free land. And they were thinking it all was free. And this is all the new movement going west through the railroads.
Kevin, I'm completely lost.
I know.
Because you didn't lay out who was on what side of the issue. You didn't lay out like a structure of what it was. I'm picking up parts of this, but to put it together, I don't know who the good guys and bad guys are in this whole story, because you're not defining them as we're going through. And
not a problem.
Right? And so
it's the Sons of Liberty that are the good guys. Okay. Jedediah Foster was the good guy. John Adams was not. When I say he plagiarized the Constitution, no. He took Jedediah's Constitution, which was for freedom and independence, and changed it to what we were just talking about earlier. And that changed it all because it made us all equal as slaves underneath the rule of the state and the church. Back then, the way that they set it up was that each community made up of 20 families would establish the church underneath the main church, being Wheaton. That church would then have its own constitution amongst its people and ran by its people, because the militia is the people of the church. It's the people of the community. We are the militia. We are the Sons of Liberty. This is an individual thing, and that's how we control it. We're all supposed to be in control of everything, controlling them, not them controlling us.
So we should be the slave masters, not them? Or we should
There's no slaves. There's no slaves, though. We're free. We're free and independent. So, in other words, the court of public opinion is going to be what's going to decide it. You grab 20 families of your church, and if they see that you can't fit this argument out between the two of you, you now have to discuss it amongst the public. So now you're going to be in dishonor publicly for your argument and your controversy of law.
So this is basically the core of the grand jury system.
Yes, right? Exactly. That's where the sovereign grand jury comes from, where we can all take it back. All we need is a minimum of 25 standing.
Like the way the Republic grand juries that were established in the late 70s and 80s endeavored to restore the Republic.
Indeed, that was the civil rights movement.
No, that was not the civil rights movement. That was the reestablishment of the Republic of the United States of America. And they set up in Illinois, they set up 47 grand juries. Now, in these grand juries, they were, exposing a lot of things you're talking about now.
Okay.
And most of those grand juries and most of those grand jurors are gone, and most of the paperwork has since been buried.
Exactly.
So how does this help us now?
How does this help us now is because if we go back to the original Constitution, we can go back to the freedom and independence rather than as slaves.
But that Constitution wasn't ratified. It wasn't accepted as law by the Republic, so it has no power. So we can't do that.
By which republic are you speaking of? The frauded republic created after they frauded the Constitution?
No, that's not the Republic. That's the United States of America Incorporated. The Republic of the United. Which is the corporation? What do you mean? Which is the corporation? I just said that.
The corporation was created in 1871.
Okay, that's the corporation. You said which one? I said that's the corporation. What I said is there's the Republic of the United States of there is the United States for America. The Republic. That's the Republic. Right? So that Republic, not a democracy, by the way. So that's a questionable term in this research, the democracy. Because see, in a democracy, if all it takes is we're all gonna vote, right? And as long as we, the majority agrees, that becomes law. Well, in that, there is no unalienable rights protected. That's what makes a republic so profound, is because in a republic, it acknowledges that we have rights which are given to us by God and cannot be taken from us by anyone.
That is correct. But where this all comes in wrong is the rule of the law, because it's all being controlled through DuPage County.
Through DuPage. So right now, today,
everything goes back to DuPage.
Everything is in what?
Everything as in the judicial system, the state, and the church.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that a functional, working system as of today? Is that something where everyone acknowledges DuPage? Is there people working there like an underground cavern of judges there? Is there what is
Yes,
there?
indeed. That's basically they're doing the securities fraud. They're probably the king
Oh
of the
wait,
MERS.
Wheaton is a Jesuit college, right?
No, it's Billy Graham's college. It's the
Oh, right.
evangelical vote of the country because they hold the Catholic 29% of the Catholic vote and 29% the evangelical vote, and that's why Billy Graham became the largest evangelical church. So they had to get Billy Graham in here, and basically this ties up to where they've been controlling the courts through extortion of all of our congressmen, because all the congressmen and all your generals all come out of Wheaton College.
Yeah, it is a Jesuit college, by the way. And because the Jesuits control both sides.
It's basically the Vatican, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Well,
that's what we cracked out today, is that basically that this is the Vatican on American soil.
Okay. Wheaton College, huh?
Yes.
All right.
And they're hiding it all, and they've been doing this since the very beginning. They're the ones behind.
Wheaton College.
Who is the good
Wheaton
guy?
College is the Billy Graham Center.
In Massachusetts, right?
No, this is in Illinois.
Oh, because there's Wheaton College in Massachusetts as well. That's why I was curious.
Oh, really? Oh, no, that ties in. I'm telling you, this is going to get really bad. Because Massachusetts is the partner to it, because they were running between Chicago. They were running between Wheaton, Illinois, and Massachusetts, Worcester, and Brookfield. That's where the Revolutionary War was actually started, was Brookfield.
Gotcha.
So they were already here because they established this in 1640 is when they established, actually 1620 is when they established Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is just north. Because it's not just Wheaton, they owned it all. Do you know what I'm saying? They own the whole United States.
But okay, but they have no, I mean, okay. I mean, I get it. All right.
You keep going back in the documents, and that's where all the.
I understand. Yeah, it's cool history, man. I mean, like I get it, But this is where, this is the same way that truthers get buried, right? Because they start to go down the rabbit hole, and then what happens is there's so much that has been done to just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of deception.
No, right? They burned all the documents in the Chicago fire. All the land treaties, all the churches.
Kevin.
Yes.
Yes, I know, but there's layers of deception. Are you disagreeing with that?
No, not at all. But we've got the documents.
Right? So there's and even with those documents, it really doesn't matter, right? Because we know there's a hierarchy above all that. So all that stuff is just slave talk. Because at the end of the day, none of it matters.
The hierarchy. The hierarchy is here.
Even the hierarchy was slaves. Even the Pope was a slave. We know better. So this stuff, that's what I'm trying to say, is it's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. It's fascinating. But there was an order above them. Always. Their laws didn't mean anything.
Okay, well, what I basically then, this all leads to Hillary. This all leads to Hillary.
Ah, okay. All right. Now, so
like literally right to it.
Okay. So
right to it, and I'm trying to bring everybody up there. It's just that this is too much to just give in a half-hour show.
Well, okay, duly noted. But you haven't proven its value yet. Like, and I've talked to you about this. I've talked to you about it 3 times now. So you haven't earned. You can't bring it on and try to bring it on without bringing, like, where are we going with it? You got to give us an idea. Now, my people asked you 3 times yesterday to tell them where it was going. I even let you interrupt my show, and then with that, you've got to tell me where are you going with it, so I know the value. Because right now, I still don't see it.
All right, give Michelle a call. Just give Michelle a call.
All right. You know what, Dan? I do got to jump off. I got to get on the show.
Blessings,
Kevin. Appreciate you. Later, man. Bye.
So Kevin, as I was saying, I didn't understand where you're going with this. Also, I mean, I'm lost in all this information. I don't know who's who. I do not know the purpose of the land grab. Who did the land grab? What did it represent? So just sending out a bunch of facts makes it very confusing. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a context from which you're trying to represent that this means something to where we're going. And bringing up Wheaton College and the rest of that, that's like of now and today, and all our generals are going through there. Okay, but what does this mean? It's the Vatican on that. It's like making a statement of this, but is the Vatican tied into it? Is it? I'm completely lost. Over. Are you over also, Kevin? Okay, well, maybe we're done for today. Let me just I'll do the wrap up here. It's all interesting information. Thanks, Kevin, for sharing. Let's talk about this more off the broadcast, so I can kind of like condense it into something that would make sense and why we're talking about this and where we can take it. One of the things is that there's so many, as Tank was saying, there's so many layers and deception upon deception. In my view, we have to transition into something completely new, regardless of what happened in the past, because it's been hidden. We're standing up and we're building a new world. It's okay to have reference to the past and learn from it, and that's good. What are the lessons? That's why I said when I looked at the constitutions, um, it was just something to reference and learn from, and then come up with this new a new type of system, a new constitution. Maybe I should share our constitution. Yeah, maybe we go over that and talk about this part of this. So because we're moving into a new world, and our new world is interconnected everywhere on the planet. I'm in the Philippines. There's people everywhere on the planet that can access this. Fiji, everywhere, even Antarctica, there is a connection, a ability for us to speak to one another. So in essence, we have a global voice, and we have to allow for the freedom of that to be expressed and not censored. And how are we going to then govern ourselves, using the word govern, but participate with one another and organize in a fair and just manner. We need to figure this out. But I appreciate everything that you're attempting to bring to us. But let's maybe dig in a little bit more. All right, everyone, please subscribe here. Subscribe on the other channel, WWG1WGA.love channel, and also the website site, WWG1WGA.love, and register there. And I'd really appreciate if you contribute. There's $1.11 contribution there, $8.88 a month contribution, and also a yearly $99.99 a year to help us move forward and do this. Any amount that you contribute there is much appreciated. So and then I have actually some other things that we'll discuss tomorrow. Let's not get to that. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Peace out from Tank. and take it easy from Fiji, and take it easy from the Philippines.